Friday to you and yours. Thanks for joining me. As always, Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast with you. Now, let's be honest with each other. Today, day 3 of training camp, was a walkthrough. Not much to gather from the walkthrough, but I do want to focus on Mike Vrabel's press conference that happened before said walkthrough. We'll do that a little bit later on. I also have a couple of notes that I want to share with you. But first, let's talk about Christian Wilkins. And don't forget to hit that like button, that thumbs up as you watch us, whether live or on demand. Christian Wilkins was released by the Raiders yesterday. There's a conflict, or was a conflict, between Wilkins and the Raiders about how to handle the Jones fracture that he had in his foot, whether to have surgery or not. There was a disagreement. The Raiders were not happy. They said goodbye to Wilkins. They're trying to keep the rest of his guaranteed money. Wilkins has filed a grievance through the NFLPA, having their own issues over the past couple of weeks thanks to Pablo Torre. But the Raiders said goodbye, so now Wilkins is a free agent. And Mike Vrabel was actually asked about Christian Wilkins today, and here's what Vrabel said, quote, "I think we'll have a conversation. This is pretty new, so I don't have all the information. I know Christian, recruited him when he was up here in the area when he was in Connecticut going to high school. I'm sure we'll have a conversation about it." So Vrabel says that at least they're open to having a conversation about Christian Wilkins, which isn't a surprise. You should be open to having a conversation about anybody that you think could possibly be an upgrade or a help to your roster. So there's no doubt in my mind that Vrabel is having this conversation, or already has had this conversation with Elliott Wolf and the rest of the front office, figuring out if Wilkins is a good idea. Don't forget one thing. I was thinking about this today after listening to Vrabel's press conference. Obviously, Vrabel has a good relationship with Tom Brady, a very good relationship with Brady. And of course, Brady is a minority owner of the Raiders. So I just have to imagine that Vrabel, if he wants to do some homework on this, if he wants to get some intel, he can easily pick up the phone and call his buddy TB12. So I wonder how that relationship could play a role, if it would play a role, in the pursuit or possible pursuit of Christian Wilkins by the Patriots. So should New England pursue Christian Wilkins? That's my question for you today. Let me know. Throw it in the comment section. Do you think the Patriots should pursue Wilkins? If you were Vrabel, would you pursue Christian Wilkins? Now, I'm a yes. I'll tell you why I'm a yes in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to give you some caveats because I don't think it's a no-brainer. I don't think this is something where you look at it and say, all right, he's available. We have to go get him. Number one, what's the prognosis? A Jones fracture is a very serious injury. What is his health prognosis? Is he coming back this year? If he's coming back this year, when is he coming back? Is there an issue with the foot that goes beyond the Jones fracture? Should there be something else popping up here? So how healthy is he? What's the prognosis to this injury? Is this a situation where he could be out for a long period of time, even though he missed most of last season? I'd like to know that. Number two, is he amenable to the treatment plan? Or is there going to be an issue with Wilkins and the medical team where he says, thanks, but no thanks. I want to do this my way. I want to go about this plan my way. I'm very comfortable with my approach. Surgery, no surgery, that's how I feel. And can the Patriots, can they come to an agreement with Wilkins if they do pursue him? Can they come to an agreement about how to handle this injury and when he could come back, why he should come back, all those different things? Can they agree on a treatment? Because if you can't agree on a treatment, you don't want to bring him in because all you're going to do is just release him just like the Raiders did. So before any agreement happens, you would have to have a conversation with Wilkins. You'd have a conversation with doctors. What's the prognosis and how are we going to treat this thing? And let's make sure we're all on the same page, because if you're not, you're running up against the wall head first. Number three, what kind of contract is Christian Wilkins looking for? If he doesn't get his guaranteed money from the Raiders, is he looking to make up for it? I'd have to imagine. If you're the Patriots, how much are you willing to pay? if you're interested in Wilkins, how much do you pay him given he's coming back from a Jones fracture? Do you feel comfortable giving him any guaranteed money? Do you handle it in a similar way that you handled Stephon Diggs, where, hey, when you pass your physical, when you're capable of getting on the field, then you will get a chunk of your guaranteed money. But until that day that you get the okay from the doctors, you're not getting guaranteed money. We're not going to give you that guarantee on the table. So how would the Patriots want to handle any kind of negotiating? Because if I am negotiating with Wilkins, I'm not comfortable just handing him a bag of guaranteed money. I want to make sure he can pass a physical. I want to make sure that he is physically ready and able to do the job that I'm going to pay him to do. So what kind of money is he looking for? Is there wiggle room with incentives? Is there wiggle room with per game bonuses? All those different things. I mean, you can structure a contract, especially in the NFL, a million different ways. So what is Wilkins looking at from a contractual standpoint? Is he happy getting the money from the Raiders and telling you, hey, I don't need to get paid a ton. I don't need to get all this money. I got paid by the Raiders. Just give me a decent amount, and I'm fine with taking the physical. I pass the physical. I get that guaranteed dough. The other thing that we have to figure out is whether or not Wilkins fits the Mike Vrabel vibe, fits his culture. Because as we know, Mike Vrabel, the Patriots, they have focused an awful lot during the offseason and even during this, summer part of the pre-camp process. And now as you get into training camp, the third day, there's this hyper focus on culture. Does Wilkins fit that culture? Does Vrabel believe that Wilkins can fit seamlessly? Because don't forget, you have Christian Barmore, you have Milton Williams, you got Keon White. How does Wilkins fit into that mix from a personality standpoint? You don't want him walking in late July, early August and blowing up the whole thing. So is he a cultural fit for your football team? So those are the caveats. I gave you 4 caveats. What's the prognosis health-wise? Can you agree on a treatment plan? What kind of contract is he going to be looking for? Is he open to work on the structure of that contract? And finally, does he gel with your culture? Does he fit in the room? I want those questions answered before you do anything as far as signing him. But I would be a yes. As long as you can check those boxes, I would absolutely unequivocally be a yes on pursuing and signing Christian Wilkins. I will tell you why in a minute. But before I get there, don't forget, click that thumbs up. Give us a like as you watch on YouTube. That helps us with the algorithm. Of course, you throw your comments in. How do you feel about Wilkins? I can jump into these right here. Jermaine Brown says, if it's not serious and the money is right. Exactly. If it's not serious and the money is right. Nelson says, yes, they should go after Wilkins. Mr. Snoopy, if we get him, we will 100% get to the playoffs and win a playoff game and have a pretty good chance to win the division. I don't care how bleep our offense is what I'm guessing. Stephen Coakley asked me any fun plans this weekend. After this live stream, I am going to go out with the wife. We're going to have some drinks at one of our favorite places that we haven't been to in years. So that's tonight. Tomorrow, we'll see what the day brings. Maybe a little Happy Gilmore 2 action later tonight, too, by the way. I think I'm going to check that out. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. Jermaine asked me if I'm all moved in. Not really. the second pod arrived yesterday. I think it was yesterday. No, the second pod arrived Tuesday. We emptied out the pod yesterday. So we're still going through the process, Jermaine. It's going to be a little bit, we're both pack rats. We have a lot of stuff, way too much stuff. We should probably be selling stuff. I should actually put some stuff behind me and sell it. If you guys are open to it, have a little bit of a yard sale behind me. But we're slowly but surely getting there. Kevin Roberts, yes, give him an incentive-based contract. If he's open to it, he might not want it. Jermaine's laughing. I appreciate you. Kevin says Happy Gilmore 2 is good, by the way. I hope so. I don't want to get my hopes up. All right, so why pursue, why sign Wilkins if he's open to the idea of coming back home? Number one, when Christian Wilkins is healthy, folks, he's good at football. NFL.com wrote this on Wilkins. Across 6 NFL seasons, boasts 372 career tackles, 56 quarterback hits, 22.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. In 2023, he had a breakout season for Miami. He had 9 sacks. He had a career-high 61 quarterback pressures. He had 61 pressures in 2023. He was ranked the 10th best defensive tackle by Pro Football Focus heading into 2024. He was ranked as a top 10 interior defensive lineman by Pro Football Focus in both 21 and 22. When he signed with the Raiders, he was easily one of the best interior defensive linemen in football, bar none. Whether you had him at 10, you had him at 7, whatever. He was one of the best defensive linemen in the game. Goes to the Raiders, gets the injury, and it's, somewhat of a disaster. But if he's healthy, he has proven to be really, really good. And I don't know about you, but I feel like if I'm the Patriots, I'm looking for really, really good football players. I enjoy really, really good football players. You can keep the mediocre players. I would like the really, really good ones. So why would I be interested in Wilkins? Number one, he's really good at what he does. Some people might be concerned about a numbers game. Nick, they've got Williams. They've got Barmore. I don't care. What did the Philadelphia Eagles do last year? The Philadelphia Eagles layered their defensive line. They had a rotation. Don't forget, Williams played less than 50% of the snaps last year for Philly. The Eagles are the perfect example. If you can load up on talent in the trenches, if you can load up on talent on the defensive line, you will find a way to deploy all of those guys. And Vrabel, Terrell Williams, they love versatility along the line. We know that Milton Williams is already moving along the line. Keon White is moving along the line. They did this with Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee. He wasn't always just in the same spot. So they like the idea of having versatile, movable pieces on their defensive line, which opens up opportunity because you can move Williams, you can move Barmore, you can move Christian Wilkins. So I don't think bringing in somebody like Wilkins would get in the way of any kind of progress from Barmore and Williams. Again, with the caveat that the Patriots believe Wilkins fits within their culture. I don't think that would be a big issue. There is a power in numbers on the defensive line if you handle it correctly, and I trust this coaching staff to handle it correctly. I mean, just imagine if Wilkins is healthy and he's ready to go. Can you imagine, even if it takes him several weeks, let's say by the middle of 2025, Barmore has completely knocked the rust off from 2024 with the blood clots, and he's physically ready to go, and he's full throttle smoking people up front. Say if you have that Christian Barmore. Say if you have the Christian Barmore of 2023. Then you have Milton Williams. We've talked about him a ton. And then you add Wilkins to that mix. Even if Wilkins is, let's say, 80% of what he was in 2023, Williams, Wilkins, and Barmore is a devastating trio. And we're not even talking about Keon White. We're not talking about Harold Landry, who looked good through the first 2 days of training camp. I will say, no pads on. But if you could add Wilkins to this defensive front seven, I mean, my goodness, now when you rotate somebody in, you don't have to worry about rotating somebody in like Kyrie's Tonga, with all due respect. Tonga falls back in the depth chart. Imagine taking out Barmore and subbing Wilkins in. Imagine taking Wilkins out and subbing Williams in. Imagine taking Williams out and subbing Barmore in. That three-man rotation would be absolutely devastating. Stack it up. I'm all in on that. I'm all in on that potential, because you're talking about potentially the best defensive line in football, at least top 3. You might stretch top 5, but they would be one of the best defensive lines in all of the NFL. Talent, talent, talent. Another thing, when we discuss Christian Wilkins, I talked about the pressures and I talked about the sacks. I talked about the quarterback hits. But Wilkins is really, really good against the run. This was Pro Football Focus in their write-up on Wilkins ahead of last season. Wilkins has the 4th best Pro Football Focus run defense grade among all interior defenders over the past 2 seasons. So in 22 and 23, the 2 prior years to the injury season last year in Vegas, the 2 years prior to that, Wilkins was the 4th best run defender among all interior defensive linemen. And we've talked about this throughout the offseason. There's some question whether or not Milton Williams is going to be able to hold up against the run. He didn't do a great job in Philly doing that. Now, Greg Bedard would tell you the film is better than what he expected, but Williams is not known as a run stuffer. He might get there. He's still young, and he still has a lot of room to grow. He didn't play as much as others, as we talked about in Philly just a moment ago. So maybe he grows into that. Maybe he gets better. Maybe he improves in that category. But right now, if you tell me you can put Wilkins up there, who is one of the best run defenders in the league at his position, then man, oh man. I mean, what it is a massive upgrade over Tonga. And it's somebody who you can trust no matter what. First, second, third down, you can throw him out there. That versatility, that depth, that talent. Give me somebody like that who's good against the run. Patriots have plenty of cap space. The cap space is not a problem. They have plenty of cap space to work on a contract that makes sense for them and for Wilkins. He's 29 years old. I mean, the Patriots signed a slew of guys this offseason that were 28 years old or older. Carlton Davis is 28. Spillane is 29. Landry is 28 or 29. Morgan Moses is 34. So if Wilkins could come back healthy, and you're looking at somebody who is 29 years old, who is just 2 years removed from his best season in the NFL, I'm taking that swing. And he's from Springfield. He knows the area. He knows the media. He knows the intensity and the passion. So yes, absolutely, I would take a swing at Christian Wilkins. All right, let's get to Mike Vrabel, because I thought he said a few interesting things today to the media. Jalen Polk, 3rd straight day of training camp, he didn't do anything. So he's been MIA for the first 3 days. Doug Kyde reported that it's a soft tissue injury. I tweeted about this. Mike Vrabel is on record hating soft tissue injuries. You can check it out at Nick C Radio. But Vrabel was asked about Jalen Polk today in his absence and how that could impact him. And here's what Vrabel said, quote, "There's a lot of ways around being out here at practice. We think that practice is important, but obviously there's circumstances about being out here and not being out here. There is installation. Any player that's not out here can stay engaged and continue to learn, get the information that they need. That's the important thing. Doing everything that you can to get back as quickly as possible. And when you do get back, there's not a lot of information lost." And later on, during this press conference, Vrabel was asked about Jared Wilson, because Wilson obviously missed most of OTAs and mandatory minicamp. He wasn't out there on the field. But you fast forward to training camp, Wilson's out there. He's getting reps. I talked about it on today's Locked On Patriots. You can check it out. So you've got Wilson out there getting reps. So later in this presser, Vrabel was asked about that. And Vrabel discussed Wilson being ready. And that's his point. Like, Jared Wilson wasn't on the field, but he was doing everything he could away from the field to be prepared. So if he was given the opportunity, he would be ready. And so that was the message from Vrabel to Polk, which is like, hey, we all have situations that pop up, circumstances that can get in the way, obstacles that can hurt you. But if you're doing the work away from the field, then you should be fine. You get back, you're ready, jump right in, and show us. Now, the difference is that there's a lot less depth on the offensive line than there is in the wide receiver room. Might not be the greatest depth. I'm not telling you they have 5 number 1 receivers, but they've got 12 dudes at that position trying to win the job. And we know that Diggs is on this team. Kyle Williams is on this team. I believe Pop Douglas is a lock. I would still say Matt Collins is a lock because you just signed him, and Vrabel sung his praises today. And I think Kendrick Bourne, more likely than not, makes it. And you got Booty out there who started at the X on day one of training camp. So the difference between Wilson and Polk is Wilson doesn't have to battle as many guys to get on the field to get reps. So that's one difference. You also have Jalen Polk's 2024, which was a disaster. And that's already hanging over his head. And I've said this. I don't quit on any player after 1 year. I don't. I personally believe it's unreasonable to quit on a professional athlete after one season unless there's something serious going on away from the field or away from the court, whatever. But I am losing hope. I'm starting to lose hope in Jalen Polk. Shoulder injury last year. Shoulder surgery offseason. Sat out OTAs and minicamp because of that. He did drills, but he didn't do anything competitively. Now you get to training camp. He's not on the PUP. He's not on the NFI list, but he misses the first 3 days because of a soft tissue injury. He's got to get on the field soon. He's got to get out there on that field soon, or it's just about time to write him off. Be a little bit more patient. It's only been 3 days, but he's got to get out there. All right. Vrabel was also asked about K'Lavon Chaisson, my favorite name on the team. And somebody asked about Chaisson's untapped potential and whether or not Vrabel believes that Chaisson has untapped potential. And Vrabel said, quote, I think that's probably a good way to look at it. It takes some players longer than it takes others. I'm hopeful his best football is in front of him. Very excited how he came in. And personality-wise, again, Vrabel is pounding the personality. He's pounding the culture fit. So not only is he excited with how Chaisson came in to camp, in shape, but personality-wise, he's obviously had the right approach, and the coaches are fans. And Vrabel said what he's shown on the field thus far, he's excited about. And then Vrabel mentioned that's an interesting, fun room to be around, talking about the defensive line. So that goes back to the Wilkins stuff. Do you think he fits in? Do you not think he fits in? And when it comes to K'Lavon Chaisson, I love the swing by New England. I said it at the time. I loved signing him. It's a 1-year deal. It's lower on the money spectrum. And the Patriots need all the pass rush that they can get. They were miserable rushing the passer last year. And you got Braden Swinson and Chaisson battling for that substitute kind of pass rusher role. You got those two guys battling it out. Landry and White are going to start, I would imagine. So it's Chaisson and Swinson in the pass rush role. Because remember, Anthony Jennings doesn't give you a whole ton of pass rush. So I thought the Chaisson signing made sense. And by the way, Chaisson had 4 of his 5 sacks in 7 of his 10 quarterback pressures last season over his final 6 games with the Raiders. So he started to pick up momentum towards the end of the season. And that's what Vrabel's talking about is, hey, we hope that he has the best football in front of him and that he's got untapped potential. If you saw the final month and a half of the season, he looked like the guy who was a first-round pick for the Jaguars a few years back. So maybe they got something in Chaisson. He's looked, by all accounts, he's looked pretty good early in camp. And this was something else that I found very interesting by Vrabel. He was asked about day 2 of practice. And here's what he said, quote, I think they started out okay. Thought about the offense. But I don't think we finished as well as we started. And that's got to change. If we're not finishing a practice, we have to hopefully fix that so we can finish in the game. We can pick up some crucial first downs if we're leading or if we're in a 2-minute situation and we need some plays to go down and get a score. And the reason why I love this, the reason why I love this from Vrabel is because he's been preaching about effort and finish from day one. It's been all about effort and finish. His introductory press conference, effort and finish. And here he is. He's preaching to everybody, finish. He didn't think that they finished the practice day 2 good enough. So keep pounding it. Stay consistent. Effort and finish. Just because this is training camp doesn't necessarily mean that we're quitting on the effort and finish. We're going to treat practice the right way. We're going to finish a practice. And I love it. Don't get fat and happy early. Understand that, yeah, this is training camp, but there's a reason for training camp. And we talk about situational football. We talk about tight games in the NFL, right? How many one-score games in the NFL? How many one-score games have the Patriots lost the last 2 seasons? Way too many to count. Situational football, tight games in the NFL. And good habits start in camp. You could argue good habits start at OTAs, but that's Vrabel's message to the team. Vrabel's message to the team is that training camp matters. The good habits start here. If we're going to finish games in the regular season, we have to start finishing our practices here. That's how it works. And it's a consistent message. It's a consistent, powerful message from the head coach. And that's exactly what you want. So I was thrilled that Vrabel talked about day 2's practice in that way. Said, I thought we started out okay, but we didn't finish well. And that's got to change. We're not waiting. Yeah, it's the 3rd practice, but we're not waiting. We've got to finish. Mind the P's and Q's. Make sure everything's figured out. All right, I got 2 other things I want to talk about quickly. Just 2 quick notes about some things today, day 3 of training camp, because again, it was a walkthrough, not a lot to learn, but we do have a couple of notes. First, David Colburn, welcome home. This should take care of you for one at Casual Pint. David, did you know? It's actually where Kelly and I are going. I mentioned that we haven't gone to a place in a couple of years. It's Casual Pint. That's exactly where we're going. Is it time to just cut bait with Poke and Baker? First, I'd say Poke, I'm still hanging on, but he's got to get out there. If he's not out there, by early next week, all my hope might be gone. All my hope might have vanished at that point. Baker, I don't think he has much of a chance. He's been working like off to the side with Wooldridge, the 3rd-string quarterback. He's not getting any reps with May. He didn't get any reps with May at OTAs, really, or mandatory minicamp. I guess there was a deep ball yesterday from Dobbs that went right through his arms. I think Baker needs a lot of things to fall his way. I think he needs injuries. I think he needs a couple of guys to pretty much not show up. I think Polk still has an outside shot. I think they want to see him get on the field and whether or not he can figure some things out. But, can't make the club in the tub. And if one guy's going to make the club in the tub, it's going to be Mac Hollins. Now, one option too, David, is that they can put Polk on the PUP. And they might say, you know what, the injury kind of lingered. The soft tissue thing became something a little bit more significant. So we're going to put him on the PUP. And then maybe they kind of get through the season that way to start and then give him a shot if somebody gets injured. But I would say Polk, if I was going to put a percentage, 15% chance of making the team right now. Baker, 2%. Don't feel great about it. Reset and move forward, David says, I am homering a 10-win, 1 playoff win season. Go Pats. We'll see. I have yet to give you my prediction for this year. All right, 2 quick notes. 2 quick notes before we leave you on the Friday. Carlton Davis was back at practice today. Good. Good news. Mike Vrabel said, I was talking about this on the Patreon podcast that I did last night for my Patreon members. You can check it out, patreon.com/Nick Cattle, Cattles. We talk about all the Boston teams there. And I was talking about this last night on the Patreon. I just don't want to live through this Carlton Davis roller coaster of injury and lack of health. I don't want to go through the ups and downs. I just don't want to. Like he wasn't at OTAs. He was vacationing. That's fine. But then, mandatory minicamp, he shows up. Pop Douglas pretty much got the best of him a few times. Then, he's not on the PUP. He's on the NFI to start. But then Vrabel comes out and says, no, Davis will be there day 1. He's out there day 1, but then day 2, he's not out there. But Vrabel said that yesterday, that day 2 was maintenance. So that makes me feel better. It sounds like they're managing Davis. They're also managing Morgan Moses, which makes a lot of sense because Morgan Moses, obviously 34, coming off surgery in the offseason. Davis, because of the injury history, I think you look at it and say managing him makes a little bit of sense, especially if he's dealing with something that might be nagging him a little bit. So according to Vrabel, it was maintenance. I will say today was a walkthrough, so it's not as if Carlton Davis had to do a lot. Vrabel did say that tomorrow, Saturday's practice, is going to be pretty competitive. They did a jog through, walk through today. Vrabel said that tomorrow's practice is going to be much, much more competitive. I think they're going to go hard tomorrow. And if they go hard tomorrow, I'll be interested to see if Davis is out there and how much he does. Number 2, Mark Daniels of Mass Live. He reported earlier today that Jared Wilson, who was getting reps with the first team at center and left guard, also got some reps at right guard today. So now you've got Wilson practicing left guard, center, and right guard. And he's been getting some snaps on the top unit. And I think this coaching staff loves Jared Wilson. That's what I get from it. He's getting a ton of reps. He's getting a ton of opportunity. For somebody who wasn't out there OTAs, wasn't out there mandatory minicamp for the most part, I mean, he immediately comes back, gets on the field, and from day one at training camp, he's getting some reps on the first team at 2 different positions, and now they add right guard to his plate. They obviously believe that he is incredibly smart, that he can handle all 3 of those positions. They obviously believe that he has excellent versatility for this offensive line, so they're putting him at all 3 spots. So some priceless versatility from Jared Wilson. And I'm telling you, if this continues, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see what happens next week. They put the pads on, the real football starts. But if this continues for Jared Wilson, it feels like he's going to start. If this continues, this kind of momentum, and you get the joint practices, and he's getting a lot of reps with the ones, whether it's at left guard, center, I don't know. Obviously, Owenu, you have to imagine, will be locked in at right guard. But it feels like he's going to get a chance. It feels like he's going to get a legit shot at starting. And, the trust and the confidence that they have in this rookie who played 1 year at center for Georgia. He started 1 season at Georgia. 1. And he'd only been a center for 2 years. Before then, he was a guard. So the trust, the belief, the confidence that this coaching staff is showing in Jared Wilson right off the bat, day one, they must think the world of this kid. And, as of right now, maybe he ruins it. Maybe he ends up stinking out loud for a week and they go, oh, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. But right now, it looks like Jared Wilson has won this coaching staff over, and they're pretty much doing everything they can to get him on the field. So they obviously want to see him out there. They're throwing him out there all over the place. And he is, by all accounts, handling it pretty well. Now, he did have a fumbled snap with Drake May yesterday, day 2, training camp. That's going to happen. But for the most part, people saying, he's handled himself pretty well. And to get this shot after missing a lot of time earlier in the summer speaks volumes. So I'm pretty optimistic about Jared Wilson. If this continues, I'm going to be very optimistic. I don't want to go too crazy, but I'll be very optimistic that he's going to have a spot on this starting offensive line by week 1 against the Raiders. All right, everybody have a great weekend. Like, comment, subscribe, help a brother out. Let's beat that algorithm, trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. We're slowly getting there. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for supporting the show, whether it's just throwing comments in, liking, sending super chats and super thanks. Can't say enough. But again, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday at 3. Peace.